Mia Seo presses the post, and 3 seconds later, she wants to die. The photo is already gone, flung out into the world where she cannot pull it back. Her thumb still hovers over the screen like it might undo what it just did. It will not. At 2 a.m. in a small apartment in Seoul, with rain sliding down the window and her makeup halfway down her face, Mia has just made the worst decision of her life, and she does not know it yet. She only knows that 10 minutes ago she was crying, and now her pulse is going hard, and somewhere out there a number is starting to climb. Rewind 10 minutes, because you need to understand how a smart woman does a stupid thing. If you have ever posted something at 2 a.m. that you regretted by sunrise, do me a favor and tap that subscribe button right now, because this story is about to show you exactly how far one bad decision can travel. Like the video, drop a comment telling me if you have ever tried to make an ex jealous, and stay with me because what happens to Mia next is going to keep you here until the very last second.
So,
10 minutes earlier, Mia is lying in the dark, scrolling, the way you scroll when you already know you should stop. And then his face fills her screen.
Park Ji-hoon.
The man she gave 2 years to. The man who left. He is not just her ex. He is an influencer now, a rising one, 500,000 followers and climbing, a perfect jaw and a ring light and a brand. Tonight he has posted a video. Soft music. Golden light. His new girlfriend laughing into his shoulder while he looks at the camera like he has solved the meaning of life. The caption reads, "Sometimes you have to leave the wrong person to find the right one." Mia stops breathing for a second, because everyone knows who the wrong person is. Everyone. The comments are already 1,000 deep, and every single one of them is a blade. "She finally upgraded," says one. "Imagine being the before picture in somebody's glow-up," says another. "No wonder he left her." Mia reads them until her hands shake. 2 years. She is the punchline of 2 years, and 100,000 strangers are laughing, and not one of them knows her name. They only know she was the woman somebody was right to leave. And something in her breaks. She does not decide to do it. That is the thing she will tell herself later, that she did not decide. Her fingers move on their own, back through her old photos, looking for proof that she was a person before she was a joke, looking for one single moment where she looked like she mattered. Then she finds it. 3 months ago. A charity gala she covered for the magazine she used to write for back when she still had that job. She had been standing near the stage when the night's biggest name walked past, and a photographer fired, and the angle caught them both. Her in a borrowed dress, looking up. And him, turning toward her, one hand almost at her back, his head tilted down like the whole crowded room had narrowed to her face.
Chairman Han.
Seojin Han. The youngest chairman in the country, worth more money than Mia can picture, a man whose photograph alone can move a stock price.
Nothing happened that night.
He said, "Excuse me."
She said sorry.
He was gone in 4 seconds. But the camera does not know that. The camera only knows what it caught, and what it caught looks like the beginning of a love story. Mia stares at it, and the cruel, wounded, 2 a.m. part of her brain whispers, "Let them think whatever they want." She types 4 words. Funny how life works out. She posts it. She puts the phone face down on the pillow, closes her eyes, and for about 30 seconds, she feels powerful. Then she falls asleep. By the time the sun comes up, the entire country is talking about her. Mia wakes at 7 a.m. to her phone screaming. Not ringing. Screaming. Buzzing so hard it has walked itself off the nightstand and onto the floor, and when she picks it up the number on the screen does not make sense. The likes are not in the hundreds. They are not in the thousands. The photo has been shared 200,000 times before breakfast. She sits up so fast the room tilts. She opens the app and the comments are pouring in faster than she can read them, a flood, a wave, and the story has already written itself without her. She dumped that influencer for a billionaire, says the top comment. Park Ji-hoon thought he traded up. She traded up. Wait, Mia is dating Chairman Han?
Since when?
Her best friend Naomi is calling. Mia answers, and Naomi does not even say hello. She just says, "Tell me you did not post what I think you posted." "I was going to delete it," Mia says, and her voice comes out thin. "I was going to delete it in the morning. It was 2 a.m. I was not thinking
Mia.
It is on the news. Not gossip blogs. The actual news. They are running the photo right now with a banner that says Billionaire's Mystery Woman. Mia walks to her tiny window and looks down at the street like the street might explain this to her.
It is a misunderstanding, she says.
I will explain. I will post a thing that says it was a misunderstanding. You cannot explain 200,000 shares, Naomi says. Mia, do you understand what you did? You did not make Hune jealous. You declared war on his entire feed with a billionaire as your weapon, and the internet believes you. And that man does not even know your name. That man, across the city, is about to learn it. Seoul Han is in a glass office on the 40th floor when his head of communications drops the photo on the table in front of him and says the words crisis and statement and immediate denial in a single breath. Seoul looks at the photo for a long moment. The woman in the borrowed dress, looking up at him. He does not remember her. He meets 1,000 people a year and remembers none of them because none of them are looking at him. They're looking at the chairman, the fortune, the access, the thing they want. He learned a long time ago that no one in a room like that gala has ever once seen the man. Only the money wearing a face. But this photo. In this photo, the woman is not looking at the chairman. The angle is wrong for that. She is just looking at a person, surprised, caught, human, and somehow the camera made him look human back, and Seoul Han cannot remember the last time a photograph of him looked like a man instead of a brand. Sir, his communications head says. The denial. We need to release it now, before the market opens, before this attaches to your name during the... No, Seoul says. The room goes silent. He is closing the largest deal of his life. A merger worth billions, and the board across the table has spent 3 months calling him cold, calculating, a machine, a man with no warmth a human being could trust. Untethered. That was the word one of them used. And here, in a single accidental photograph, the whole country has decided that the coldest man in Seoul has a heart after all. The numbers on his screen are already moving.
Up.
Sir, if we do not deny it, people will assume it is real. Seoul Han looks at the photo of the stranger who made him look like a person, and for the first time in longer than he can remember, something close to curiosity moves through him. Let them, he says. A week passes, and Mia's life does not go back to normal. It gets worse. There are reporters outside her building now. Her old editor calls, not to give her the job back, but to ask for an exclusive. Strangers recognize her at the bus stop. And through all of it, Seoul Han says nothing, denies nothing, and his silence makes the whole country believe it harder. Then the envelope arrives. Heavy cream paper, her name in print, hand-delivered by a man in a suit who will not meet her eyes. Inside, one line. Mr. Han requests the pleasure of your company. A car will come at 6 p.m. Mia calls Naomi in a panic. He is going to sue me, she says, pacing her tiny apartment. Rich men do not send cars. They send lawyers. This is the part where he ruins my life for using his face. Then do not go, Naomi says. I have to go. If I do not go, he definitely sues me. If I go, maybe I can apologize my way out of it. The car is black and silent and smells of leather and nothing, and it carries her up to the top of a tower of glass, and a woman with a tablet walks her down a hall that costs more than Mia will earn in her life, and then a door opens, and there he is. Seoul Han stands at a window with the whole city laid out behind him, and in person he is worse than the photo, taller, colder, a man assembled rather than born. He does not smile. He looks at her the way you look at a line item.
Sit, he says.
Mia does not sit. I want to say something first, she says, and her voice only shakes a little. I am sorry. The photo was a mistake. I was angry, and it was the middle of the night, and I never thought it would. I will post a correction. I will say it was a misunderstanding. I will say whatever you want me to say. Just please do not sue me, because I do not have anything for you to take. Seoul Han studies her for a moment. I do not want you to correct it, he says. Mia blinks. What? Sit down, Miss Seoul. This time she sits. What follows is the strangest conversation of her life. He lays it out the way he lays out everything, flat, precise, no warmth in it at all. He is closing a merger. The people across the table do not trust him, because they think he is a machine. The photo, this accident, this thing she did at 2 a.m. out of heartbreak has done in one night what his entire communications team could not do in 3 months. It has made him look like a man.
So I have a proposal, he says. We continue it.
3 months. We appear together in public. We attend the events that matter. We let the country believe what it already believes. There is no romance and there are no feelings. This is a transaction, and when my merger closes, we end it quietly, and you never have to see me again. And in exchange? Mia asks, because she may be heartbroken, but she is not stupid. In exchange, he says, I make the reporters outside your building disappear. I make Park Ji, Hune's narrative about you disappear. And I pay you enough that you can rebuild the career and that photo cost you. A number is named. Mia's stomach drops because the number is the kind that changes a life. She should say no.
She knows she should say no.
Every story she has ever heard about getting into business with a man like this ends with the woman destroyed. But she thinks about the reporters and the comments, and the editor who wanted an exclusive instead of giving her work back, and Ji Hoon's golden smug video playing on a loop in the back of her skull, and she thinks the whole world already believes it anyway. I have conditions, Mia says. One of Seojin's eyebrows moves, the closest thing to surprise his face allows. Conditions. You do not get to control what I say in private. You do not get to talk to me the way you just talked to me, like I am a thing you bought, because if we're going to convince anyone, I have to be able to stand next to you without wanting to push you off this very tall building. And when it is over, it ends clean. No strings. You forget my name again, which I can see you are very good at. For 1 second, something flickers behind his eyes. Almost a smile. Almost. Agreed, Seojin Han says, and he slides a contract across the desk, and Mia Seo, heartbroken and furious and out of options, signs her name next to the name of the coldest billionaire in Seoul. She does not know it yet, but she has just signed away the next year of her heart. If you are already hooked, comment fake dating down below so I know you're still with me, and subscribe before the next part because this is where the lie starts to feel real, and trust me, it gets so much worse before it gets better. Their first public appearance breaks the internet. It is a gallery opening, exactly the kind of event Mia used to cover from the cheap seats, and now she walks in on Seojin Han's arm in a dress his stylist sent over, and the room turns like a single animal. Phones come up, flashes go off, and the two of them stand there performing a love they do not feel for a crowd that wants to believe it with their whole hearts. Smile, Seojin says through his teeth, barely moving his mouth. You look like you are being arrested. That is because I would rather be arrested, Mia says, smiling beautifully for the cameras. Has anyone ever told you that you have the warmth of a parking garage?
Frequently, he says.
Put your hand on my arm. By morning they are everywhere. Every photo trends. Every angle gets analyzed. A clip of him leaning down to hear her over the noise of the room gets played 4 million times with a caption the way he looks at her, and Mia watches it in bed and thinks, if they only knew he was telling me to stop stepping on his shoes. The fights start in the car. After every appearance, the second the doors close and the cameras are gone, the mask drops and the two real people come out swinging. The drivers learn fast to turn the music up. You held my hand like you were taking my pulse, Seojin says, watching the city slide by. You introduced me to that minister like you were returning a defective appliance, Mia fires back. This is the part where you smile, Seojin. People in love smile. I do not smile. I have noticed. Your face does this thing where it threatens to, and then thinks better of it, like smiling is a cost center. He turns and looks at her, and for 1 second she thinks she has finally gone too far, and then he says, perfectly flat, you talk more than anyone I have ever paid to be near me, and Mia laughs before she can stop herself, an actual surprised laugh, and something in the cold car shifts a half degree, and they both notice it, and neither of them says a word about it. He tries to manage her, and that is its own war. He sends her a document. An actual document, talking points, approved topics, a list of things she is not to discuss in public, and Mia reads it at her kitchen table and then calls him at 11 p.m. I am not reading off a script, she says. It protects you. It makes me a liar, and I am already pretending to date a man I met for 9 seconds, so I am at my lie limit for the year. Here is what is going to happen. You're going to stop handing me homework, and I am going to be a person because the only reason that photo worked in the first place is that I looked like a real human being standing next to a statue. You hired the human. Let me be the human. There is a long silence on the line. Then Seojin says quietly, fine. And he never sends her a document again, and Mia hangs up not knowing that she has just won something no one in his company has won in years, which is an argument with Hune. The thing that actually cracks it open happens by accident, at a charity dinner that runs 3 hours too long. They get stuck. A speech becomes 4 speeches. The room will not let Hune leave, and the two of them end up parked in a private side room waiting to be summoned back out, with nothing to do and no audience to perform for, and at first they sit in furious silence at opposite ends of a long couch like 2 cats in a box. Then Mia, bored out of her mind, says, "Okay, I cannot do another 40 minutes of this. Tell me one true thing. Not a press thing. A real thing. I will go first. I have not had a single creative idea since I lost my job. Not one. I used to be good at this, writing, noticing things, and the day Hune left and the magazine let me go, it just went quiet in here, and I am terrified it is gone for good." Hune looks at her for a long moment, like he is deciding whether the room is safe. Then he says, "I have not eaten a meal with another person, just to eat it in 4 years. Every meal is a meeting. I forgot food was a thing you could do for pleasure until I watched you attack that plate out there like it had wronged you." Mia bursts out laughing. "That is the saddest rich person thing I have ever heard." It is fairly bleak, he agrees, and the corner of his mouth finally does the thing it has been refusing to do all month, and for the next 40 minutes the coldest man in Seoul, and the woman the internet thinks he is dating sit in a side room, and just talk, no cameras, no script, no deal, and when they are finally called back out to perform, they are both a little sorry to go. Their first real date is staged, of course. Everything is staged. The team picks a restaurant, leaks the reservation, and sends the two of them to perform intimacy over dinner while photographers wait outside to catch the lovebirds through the window. It goes wrong immediately, which is the best thing that could have happened. Halfway through, a couple 2 tables over recognizes them and starts filming openly, then a second table, then a man stands up and walks over and shoves his phone in Mia's face mid-sentence and demands to know if it is real. "Are you really with him? Say something," and Mia freezes, and the whole carefully staged evening tips toward disaster. And Hune stands up. He does not raise his voice. He simply rises to his full height, puts himself between Mia and the phone, and says, in a tone so quiet the whole room leans in, "You are filming my partner without her consent. Sit down, or I will have this entire establishment cleared." And the man sits down so fast he knocks his own chair, and the room goes silent, and Hune turns to Mia and offers his hand and says, "Gently, for the first time gently, let us go." In the car after, Mia is shaking with leftover adrenaline, and she looks at him, and she says, "You did not have to do that. He filmed you," Hune says, like it is the most obvious thing in the world.
Of course I did.
And that is the night the war ends, and something else begins, because a man who steps in front of a phone for you when there is no camera angle that rewards him for it is not the man the internet thinks he is, and Mia has just seen the first crack of who he really is. The shopping comes next, and Mia hates every second of it. Her new public life needs a wardrobe, the stylist says, and so she is delivered to a designer boutique in Cheongdam where the lights are soft and the prices have no numbers, only meaning, and assistants pull armful after armful of clothing that costs more than her rent, and watch her with the polite contempt of people who can smell that she does not belong. Mia stands in the middle of it feeling smaller by the minute, a woman from a small apartment being dressed up like a doll for a story that is not even true. Hune arrives because he was nearby, or so he says, and he finds her standing among the racks looking like she wants to disappear, and he watches her for a moment before she notices him. "You hate this," he says. "I feel like a fraud," Mia says, before she can stop herself. "Like you are buying a costume to make the lie fit better. Like the second I take these off I am back to being the girl they all laughed at." She gestures at the gleaming boutique.
"This is not me. None of this is me."
And Hune, who has spent his whole life surrounded by people who wanted exactly this and could never get enough of it, looks at her like she is the first interesting thing he has seen in years. On the way out, they pass a small stall on the street, the kind that sells trinkets to tourists, and Mia stops without thinking in front of a tray of cheap enamel pins, and she picks up one shaped like a tiny crooked star, the paint already chipping, worth almost nothing, and her whole face changes, goes soft and young, and she says, half to herself, "My dad used to win these for me at the night markets. He could never afford the real prizes, so he would buy me the broken ones from the stall and tell me the broken ones had better stories. She puts it down and keeps walking, embarrassed. Seojin Han buys it. Quietly, without a word, while she is not looking, a pin worth less than his coffee, and he does not give it to her, not then. He just keeps it. And in that moment, the man who could not understand why she hated a boutique full of treasures finally understands her completely, because the woman the whole country thinks is chasing his fortune just lit up brighter over a chipped $2 star than she did over a room full of diamonds, and Seojin Han realizes, with something like fear, that Mia Seo does not want anything he has, which is the most disarming thing anyone has ever done to him. It is a Sunday when it cracks all the way open. A car comes for her on a Sunday morning, and she assumes it is some brunch, some photo opportunity, and instead it takes her to a narrow old house in a part of Seoul that has no cameras in it at all, and Seojin Han, in a soft sweater instead of a suit, is carrying a bag of oranges up the steps. "What is this?" Mia says. "There is no one here to see us." "This is not for them," he says, and he does not explain, and he goes inside, and she follows him because she does not know what else to do, and that is how Mia Seo meets his grandmother. Grandmother Han is small and sharp and ancient, with eyes that miss nothing, and she lights up when she sees her grandson, and then she sees Mia behind him, and her whole face changes into something knowing. "So this is the girl from the television," the old woman says, taking Mia's hands in her dry, warm ones. "The one my grandson is pretending to love." Mia freezes. Seojin goes still in the doorway. "Halmiani," he says, a warning. "Oh, hush," his grandmother says, waving him off. "I have known you since before you could walk. You think I cannot tell when my own boy is acting?" She pats the seat beside her and looks at Mia with those bottomless eyes. "Sit, child." He brings me oranges every Sunday and tells no one, because heaven forbid the great Seojin Han be caught being a person. "Sit and let me look at the girl who got him on the news, looking human for once." And Mia sits, and over the next hour she watches the coldest man in Seoul peel oranges for an old woman and refill her tea before she asks, and laugh, actually laugh, low and surprised, at a story his grandmother tells about him as a boy, and Mia realizes she is looking at someone the entire country thinks they know and absolutely does not. On the drive home, she cannot stop looking at him. "Why do you hide that?" she finally says. "The whole world thinks you're a robot. You take care of her every Sunday, and you let them think you are a robot." "Because the version of me the world wants is the chairman," Seojin says, watching the city go by. "Every person who has ever gotten close to me wanted the chairman. The money, the access, the name. I learned a long time ago that if I show them the rest, they take it and they sell it. So I stopped showing anyone the rest. It is safer to be the robot. Robots do not get sold." Mia is quiet for a long moment. Then she says, softly, "I am the rest though. You showed me. Just now." He does not answer. But something in the car changes and they both feel it, and neither of them says another word the whole way home. 3 weeks into the arrangement, Seojin tells her to pack. There is a summit in Paris, he says, the kind of room where his merger lives or dies, the European partners he needs to win, and a man who has just become publicly, romantically human cannot show up to that room alone. "So we go together," he says. 2 days. We are seen, we are charming, the partners relax, and we come home. "It is work, Mia." "Then why?" Mia asks. "Do you look nervous saying it?" He does not have an answer for that. The jet changes something, and neither of them is ready for it. It is just the two of them above the clouds for 11 hours. No driver, no stylist, no audience. A small, quiet world with nowhere to go and nothing to perform, and at some point over the dark of the world, Mia kicks off her shoes and curls into the wide seat across from him, and says, "Okay. 11 hours. We are going to run out of small talk in 20 minutes, so let us just be people. Tell me how a person becomes you." And he does. Slowly, the way you tell things at altitude. He tells her about being 11 and being told he was the heir, about a father who measured love in performance and a mother who left, about learning that everyone who smiled at him was counting his worth, about building the cold version of himself one brick at a time because the cold version could not be hurt. And Mia tells him about a Korean mother and a father from far away who loved the night markets, about being the girl who never quite fit either world, about how she spent her whole life performing likability for people who were never going to choose her, which is exactly, she realizes as she says it out loud, why she posted the photo. We are the same, she says quietly, somewhere over Siberia. You hide, so they cannot take it. I perform, so they cannot leave. Different walls, same scared person behind them. Seojin looks at her across the small dark space, and there is something in his face she has not seen before, something undefended, and he says, I think you may be the first person who has ever looked at me and described me back to me correctly, and the moment stretches, charged, the engine's a low hum under everything, and then a flight attendant comes through and the spell breaks, and they both look away, and neither of them sleeps. Paris does the rest. The summit is the dazzle, the performance at its highest, the two of them moving through a room of the most important people in European finance, and Mia plays the part better than she ever has, warm and quick and real, and Seojin watches the cold partners thaw one by one because of her, because of the woman beside him, and the deal he flew here to save starts to save itself in front of his eyes. And then the work is done, and it is night, and they are supposed to go back to the hotel, and instead Seojin Han does something he has not done in years, which is the thing he wants instead of the thing he should. Come on, he says, taking her hand outside the venue. Not for the cameras. There are no cameras. Just come. He walks her out into Paris at night, the real one. The river running black and gold under the bridges, the lights of the city doubled in the water, and they walk with no security and no schedule and nowhere to be. Two people who have spent their whole lives watched, finally walking through the most beautiful city in the world with absolutely no one watching, and it is the freest either of them has ever felt. They stop on a bridge over the river. The lights are everywhere and on her face. And Mia, looking out at the water, says, you know this is going to end. In a few weeks, the merger closes and we shake hands and you forget my name again. That was the deal. That was the deal. Seojin agrees quietly. So why, she says, turning to look at him, do I keep forgetting that it is a deal? And Seojin Han, the man who never does the thing he wants, the man who has spent 30 years behind a wall, reaches up and brushes a strand of hair off her face, and his hand stays against her cheek, warm, and he says, Lo, Mia, and that is all, just her name, and then he kisses her. It is not a performance. There are no cameras on the bridge, no partners to convince, no contract clause that requires it. It is just him, finally, doing the one thing he has wanted to do since a side room at a charity dinner, and Mia rises into it and kisses him back with everything she has been pretending not to feel for weeks, her hands fisting in his coat, the river and the lights and the whole bright city falling away until there is nothing left but the two of them on a bridge in Paris. Real. Both of them real, for the first time. They do not go back to separate rooms that night. They walk the city until dawn instead, talking and not talking, his arm around her, stopping in doorways to kiss like teenagers, and somewhere in the gold and the dark the lie they built it all on simply stops existing, and what is left is the truest thing either of them has ever felt, and neither of them, in the magic of that night, dares to say the word for what it is. That is the mistake. They should have said it on the bridge. Because in the cold light of the next morning, on the long flight home, the fear comes back for both of them at the same time. Seojin lies awake thinking, she is an actress in this, she is wonderful at the part, that was Paris and the wine and the night, she was playing the role she signed for. And Mia lies awake thinking, he is a man who buys what he wants, that was a beautiful night in a beautiful city, it does not mean the same thing to him that it means to me, I am a contract he is enjoying. Each of them is certain the other was only playing. Each of them, terrified, decides to say nothing. And so they fly home from the most honest night of their lives and walk off the plane pretending it was the performance, and the silence they choose on that flight is the silence that will nearly cost them everything. It is real now. It became real on a bridge in Paris. And the lie it was born from has become the wall that neither one of them can find the courage to climb. If your heart hurts a little right now, comment Paris down below so I know. Hit that like button to fight the algorithm for these two stubborn fools, and subscribe before the next part, because the man who is about to walk back into Mia's life is going to make all of this so much worse. Back in Seoul, Mia keeps discovering who he really is, and every discovery makes the silence between them harder to bear. She slips away from a charity dinner to find him and learns, by following, that he is 3 floors down in the children's ward of the hospital the gala is funding, sitting on the floor in his expensive suit with a kid who will not talk to the doctors, just sitting there, patient, present, asking nothing. She finds out, by accident, that half the families in that ward have had their medical bills quietly cleared by a donor who insists on no name, no plaque, no credit. She watches the man the internet calls heartless turn out to have more heart than anyone she has ever met, hidden so deep that he had to be tricked into a fake relationship before a single person got to see it. And she thinks about Hune, who manufactured an entire personality for an audience, who turned every real moment of their 2 years into content. And she thinks about Seoul, who has spent his whole life giving everything away in secret so no one can turn it into content. And for the first time, Mia understands how upside down the whole world is, how the people we are taught to envy online are often the emptiest, and how the realest person she has ever met has spent years making sure the internet never sees him at all. She is supposed to be pretending. She is supposed to feel nothing. So why? She thinks, lying awake at night with a chipped enamel star she does not yet know he bought living somewhere in the back of her mind. Do I reach for my phone to tell him things before I tell anyone else? While Mia is falling for a man she is supposed to be acting with, Park Hune is falling apart. It starts low. A comment here, a thread there. People begin to notice that his soft golden videos always seem to launch right when he needs attention, that his breakups and his new loves arrive exactly on schedule with his sponsorship deals. Someone makes a video titled Park Hune uses relationships for content, and it gets 3 million views, and then it is everywhere, and suddenly the internet is looking at his perfect feed with new and colder eyes. His numbers drop. Brands that loved him go quiet. The new girlfriend, the one from the golden video, the one who is going to be his upgrade, posts a single cold line about needing space and disappears from his grid, and the comments that used to worship him turn on him with the speed only the internet can manage. And the public, which loves nothing more than a reversal, decides it adores Mia. She is the woman he humiliated who landed on her feet. She is the underdog who got the billionaire. And when the trolls who used to laugh at her try to start up again, something happens that ends them entirely. Hune, who never comments on anything, who has not made a personal public statement in years, posts 5 words. Speak about her with respect. That is all. 5 words from the most powerful man in the country, and the internet loses its mind, and the harassment stops cold, and Mia sits in her apartment reading those 5 words over and over with her hand pressed to her mouth, because he did not have to do that. It was not in the contract. There were no cameras on him when he typed it. He just did it for her. She calls him. He picks up on the first ring, which he never does. You did not have to do that, she says.
I know, he says.
Then why did you? There is a pause on the line, long enough that she thinks he will not answer. Then he says quietly, because I did not like the way it felt, watching them talk about you. And he hangs up before either of them has to deal with what that means. But Park Hune, drowning, watching the woman he threw away become the thing the whole country roots for, does the thing that desperate men do. He decides he wants her back. He starts small. A text.
Hey, I have been thinking about us.
Mia deletes it. Then flowers at her building, a wall of them, photographed by reporters before she even gets home, so that now the story is influencer begs ex for second chance. Then he is at her favorite cafe, at her gym, at the edge of an event she attends, always with a phone filming, because even his heartbreak is content. Mia, please, he says, catching her arm outside a restaurant one night, the camera somewhere just out of frame. I made a mistake. You and me, that was real, you know it was real. He is just a deal to you. Everyone knows it is fake. You and I were the real thing. Come back. I will fix everything. And the worst part is that a year ago those words were all she wanted. A year ago she cried herself to sleep praying he would say exactly this. She stands on the sidewalk and looks at the beautiful manufactured face of the man she once would have forgiven anything, and she waits to feel the old pull, and it does not come.
You are filming this, she says. Aren't you?
His face flickers. That is the answer. Goodbye, Hune, she says, and she walks away. And she does not look back, and she does not realize that humiliating Park Ji-hoon on camera in front of his own hidden phone is the worst thing she could possibly have done to a man who has nothing left but his audience. That night, Park Ji-hoon goes live. He is crying, or doing the thing that looks like crying, and 10,000 people are watching, and then 20, then 50, and he tells them everything. He tells them private things from their 2 years together, small, humiliating, intimate things she trusted him with in the dark, things that were never his to share, and he frames every one of them to make her look like a liar and a user, a woman who climbs men like a ladder, and by the time he is done, the number watching is in the hundreds of thousands, and the internet is a battlefield with Mia's name in the middle of it. Mia watches the whole thing from her bed with her hand over her mouth and tears running down her face. Every secret she ever gave him paraded in front of the country, and she has never felt so exposed in her life. And then there is a knock on her door. It is not a reporter. It is not Naomi. It is Seo Jin-han, at midnight, with no car and no bodyguards and no reason to be there except that he saw the live stream too. If you have ever had someone show up for you when you were at your lowest, type I see you in the comments right now. And subscribe if you want to find out what he says at that door, because this is the moment everything between them stops being fake even to themselves. Seo Jin-han stands at her doorway, and for once the controlled face is gone. I saw it, he says. Are you alright? And Mia, who has held herself together through reporters and comments and a national audience, just shakes her head because she is not alright. She is so far from alright, and Seo Jin steps inside and closes the door and does the thing she has never once seen him do. He does not fix it. He does not strategize. He just pulls her in and holds her while she falls apart against his chest, and he does not say a word. He just holds her, a man who learned long ago to give everything in secret, giving her the only thing she needs, which is to not be alone. When the crying slows, they end up on her tiny couch in the dark, and they talk the way people only talk at midnight after the worst has happened. He sold every real thing I ever gave him, Mia says. 2 years. And I keep thinking, what is wrong with me, that the people I let in always turn me into something they can use. There is nothing wrong with you, Seo Jin says, with a quiet certainty that lands harder than comfort. He is the one who is empty. He turned love into a product because he has nothing real of his own. You gave him something real, and he could not understand it, so he sold it. That is not your failure. That is his. Mia turns her head and looks at him in the dark. And what about Paris, she says, before she can stop herself. The thing neither of them has said since they landed. Was that real or was that the part? I have to know, Seo Jin, because I cannot keep pretending it was the role when it was the realest night of my life. And there it is, the door, finally open, and all he has to do is walk through it. But Seo Jin-han, the man who learned that the things he wants get taken from him, the man who watched his whole life that wanting out loud is how you lose, hesitates 1 second too long. The old fear closing his throat, and in that 1 second of silence Mia's face changes, because she reads the hesitation as an answer. It is okay, she says quickly, pulling back, the wall going up. You do not have to. It was Paris. It was a beautiful night. I get it. Forget I asked. And the moment is gone, the truest moment they will ever have, lost to two people who are each so certain they are the only one feeling it that neither dares to be the first to say it. Seo Jin leaves a little later because staying is too dangerous, and they both lie awake the rest of the night aching for a thing they each believe the other does not feel. It is real now. That is the cruelty of it. It became real on a bridge in Paris, and it is realer every day, and neither of them can say it, because the lie they built it on has become the wall they cannot climb. Mia starts noticing the truth of it in everything. When something good happens, his is the first name she reaches for. When something frightening happens, she wants his voice. When she laughs at something, she saves it to tell him. And across the city, Seo Jin-han, who built an entire life around needing no one, finds himself rearranging his days around a woman he is contractually obligated to leave in a matter of weeks, finds himself reaching into his pocket a dozen times a day to feel a chipped enamel star he has carried since Cheongdam, and he cannot stop, and he does not want to. They are running out of time, and they are in love, and they are both too scared of the lie to admit the truth. And while they hesitate, the lie is about to detonate. It is Park Ji-hoon who lights the fuse. He has lost everything. His audience, his brands, the woman, the narrative. And the live stream that was supposed to win the country back to his side has only made the country pity Mia more, which means even his revenge has failed, and a man with nothing left and nothing to lose goes looking for the one weapon that could burn it all down. He finds it. Mia, in a moment of weakness early on, had told one person about the contract. Just one. A friend, she thought, someone safe, complaining about how strange her life had become. And that person, it turns out, also knew Hune, and Hune, drowning, offers that person money and attention and a slice of the spotlight, and that is all it takes. The story breaks at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. Seoul Han's romance is a paid arrangement. There is a contract. The billionaire and the heartbroken nobody signed a deal to fake the love affair the entire country fell for. It is everywhere within the hour. And this time the internet does not pity Mia. This time it feels betrayed. They lied to all of us, the comments scream. She is a fraud. He used us to sell his merger. The country that fell in love with their love affair now feels played by it, and a public that feels played does not forgive, and the same faces that defended Mia a week ago turn on her with a fury that makes Hune's live stream look gentle. And this time, for the first time, Seoul Han cannot stop it. His investors panic. The merger that the romance made possible is now threatened by the same romance, because the board that loved the human chairman now wonders what else the chairman has faked. His communications team goes to war. His lawyers talk about damage. And in the middle of the worst crisis of his career, Seoul Han discovers that the only thing he is actually afraid of is what this is doing to her. Because Mia is drowning. The villain story is back, worse than before, and now it is proof, and there is no photo angle and no 5-word statement that can save her from a country that has decided she manipulated them all. She stops leaving her apartment. She stops reading her phone. And the cruelest voice in her head, the old one, the one that has whispered to her since long before Hune, says, "See, this is what happens when you let yourself be seen. They always find out you were never worth it." Seoul comes to her, and for the first time he has no plan, and the helplessness on his face frightens her more than the scandal. "I can make the legal part go away," he says. "I can protect you from the lawsuits. I can give you money. I can put you somewhere they cannot reach you. I can." "Stop," Mia says. "Stop trying to handle me." She is shaking. Every problem, you reach for a fix, a contract, a payment, a wall. "But you cannot pay this one away, Seoul. The whole country thinks I am a liar. Your merger is dying because of me. The best thing I can do for you, the only thing, is disappear so that you can tell them it was all me. That you were fooled too, that the poor lonely chairman got taken in by a scheming nobody. Let me be the villain. It saves you. It saves the deal. It is the only thing left that I can give you." And there it is. The wound, fully open. Mia, who has spent her whole life certain she is only ever a thing people use and then discard, has decided that the most loving thing she can do is let herself be discarded, because being useful by leaving is the only kind of love she has ever been allowed to believe in. Seoul Han looks at the woman he loves offering to set herself on fire to keep him warm, and something in him that has been frozen for 30 years finally cracks all the way open. But he is still him. He is still the man who learned that holding on gets people hurt, that the people you love are safer at a distance. And so he does the most loving and most cowardly thing he knows. He lets her go. "If that is what you want," he says, and his voice is barely his. "Then go." And Mia goes. This is the part where it all falls apart. So if you are feeling this, comment stay in capital letters, hit that like button to fight the algorithm for these two, and stay right here because everything they are both about to learn, they learn the hard way. 2 weeks of silence. Mia sits in her apartment with the curtains drawn while the country tears her name apart, and Seoul Han sits at the top of his glass tower. Watching the merger, he sacrificed everything for limp toward a finish line that no longer means anything, because he has discovered the thing every closed man eventually discovers, which is that you can win the whole world and feel nothing if you are alone in it. And then Park Hune makes one last move. He comes to her. Of course he does. He shows up at her door, and he is gentle now and reasonable, and he has a plan. "Mia, listen," he says. "The country hates you right now, but I can fix that. You and me, We go public. We reconcile. The influencer and the girl, betrayed by the billionaire who used them both. I have already talked to people. It is a redemption story. It is huge. The brands are already interested. You get your name back. You get the audience. You get to be the heroine instead of the villain. You get everything you wanted. I can give you everything you wanted. And Mia stands in her doorway and looks at him, and she finally understands. Because he is right. He is offering her exactly what she wanted a year ago. On the night she posted the photo. Validation. Attention. The crowd back on her side. The chance to prove every laughing comment wrong. It is the whole reason she started this, the entire engine of every choice that ruined her life, and here it is, gift-wrapped, hers for the taking. And she does not want it. She does not want it all. I finally get it, Mia says slowly, almost to herself. I thought I wanted them to choose me. The comments, the strangers, the crowd. I thought if enough of them clapped, I would finally feel like I was worth something. That is why I posted the photo. That is why I signed the contract. I spent my whole life performing for people who were never going to see me. She looks at Hune, and there is no anger left in her. Only a strange, clear calm. But I do not want an audience to choose me, Hune. I want one person who chose me when nobody was watching. When there was nothing in it for him. When the cameras were off, and the deal was already done. And you have never once, in your whole life, looked at anything without checking who was watching. She shuts the door in his face. And this time, for the first time, she is not doing it for a camera. But she does not run to Seoul, because she finally understands what she is to do, and it is not be saved, and it is not disappear, and it is not let anyone fix her. The whole disaster started because she let other people write her story, an angry comment section, an algorithm, a man with a contract, a man with a live stream. And the only way it ends is if she takes the pen back. So Mia Seo, who has spent her entire life terrified of being seen, picks up her phone, turns the camera on herself, no makeup, no ring light, no plan, and she goes live. My name is Mia Seo, she says, to a number that climbs into the hundreds of thousands within minutes. You have a lot of opinions about me. I am going to give you the truth, all of it, and then I am done. And she tells them everything. The 2 a.m. photo, posted out of heartbreak. The worst decision of her life. The contract real, signed, exactly as ugly as they think. She does not defend it. She does not spin it. She takes the whole blame onto herself and lifts it entirely off him. But here's the part you do not know, she says, her voice steady now. It started as a lie. And then it stopped being one. Not for him. I do not know what he feels. I am not here to speak for him. For me. Somewhere in the middle of the fakest thing I have ever done, I fell in love with the realest person I have ever met, a man none of you have ever actually seen because he spent his whole life making sure you cannot. And I let him go 2 weeks ago because I convinced myself that the most loving thing I could do was disappear, because I have spent my whole life believing I was only ever good for what I could do for people and never just for being me. She takes a breath. So this is me stopping. I am not disappearing for anyone. I am not performing for anyone. The contract is over. The deal is done. He owes me nothing and I owe you nothing, and I am keeping the one true thing I found in the middle of all the lies, whether the rest of you clap or not. She ends the stream. She puts the phone down. And for the first time in a year, Mia Seo feels like herself. Across the city, in a glass office 40 floors up, Seoul Han has watched every second of it. He watched a woman who was handed the exact thing she always wanted, an entire country's forgiveness, refuse it on camera, to keep him. He watched her stop performing for the crowd that had never once chosen her and choose, in front of all of them, the one thing she had decided was real. And the man who learned 30 years ago that the safest thing is to let people go, who let her walk out of his life 2 weeks ago because he believed holding on was a kind of harm, finally understands that he had it backwards his whole life. He does not call his communications team. He does not draft a statement. He gets his coat. A few months pass the way they do. The internet, which has the memory of a goldfish, moves on. A new scandal, a new couple, a new villain, and Mia Seo's name fades out of the headlines and back into being just a name, hers, which is all she ever wanted it to be. Park Ji-hoon's redemption story never happens because it turns out a man with no real self has nothing to redeem, and his audience drifts away to the next golden face, and he becomes what he always most feared, which is forgotten. Mia has work again, real work, writing under her own name, small and steady and hers. The merger closed, in the end, quietly, and the countries stopped caring whether the romance that started it was ever real. Life gets ordinary. Life gets quiet. And Mia finds, to her surprise, that she likes quiet, that she had been so loud for so long because she was afraid of what she would hear if she ever stopped. One rainy evening, she ducks into a small cafe to get out of the weather, a plain little place on a side street with no name anyone would know, fogged windows and the smell of coffee and nobody important in it at all. And there, at a table in the back, alone, is Hune. No bodyguards, no car at the curb, no reporters, no cameras, no assistant with a tablet. Just a man in a plain coat with a cup going cold in front of him, in a cafe where no one has looked at him twice, because for once he came somewhere as nobody at all. Mia stops in the doorway, rain in her hair. He looks up, and he smiles, the real one, the one his grandmother gets, the one the country has never seen. Nobody is watching, he says. Mia crosses the room and sits down across from him.
Good, she says.
For a moment neither of them says anything. The rain runs down the window. The coffee steams. There is no deal on the table between them, no contract, no audience, no performance, no role to play, no number climbing anywhere. Then Hune reaches into his coat pocket and sets something on the table between them. A tiny enamel pin, shaped like a crooked star, the paint chipped, worth almost nothing. The one from the street stall in Cheongdam, the one he bought while she was not looking and carried every day since. You kept it, Mia whispers. You said the broken ones have better stories, he says. I wanted ours. And Mia Seo, who spent her whole life waiting for an audience to choose her, looks at the most powerful man in the country sitting in a no-name cafe in the rain with a $2 broken star he has carried in his pocket for months, and she finally has the one thing she always wanted and never knew how to ask for, which is to be chosen by one person when nobody at all is watching. Hune reaches across the small table and takes her hand. And this time, for the first time, with no one watching and nothing to gain and nothing left to pretend, it is real. If this story made you feel something, do not leave without subscribing, because that one tap is how stories like this one find the people who need them. Like the video so the algorithm shows it to someone else who needs to hear it, and tell me in the comments, would you rather be loved by 1,000 strangers or chosen by one person when nobody is watching? I read every single comment. Thank you for staying till the end. I will see you in the next one.